Hello students, welcome to Zoology Classroom. In this video, we are going to discuss about heart rate regulation. In the previous video, we have seen about heart rate and cardiac output. The cardiac output is directly related to heart rate. If the heart rate is increased, automatically cardiac output also will be increased. So cardiac output will be controlled by the heart rate. So now how this heart rate is being controlled. So how it is regulated, we will discuss about this thing in this video. So to regulate the heart rate, there is a separate center, controlling center, like a command control center. This command control center is located in the brain in medulla oblongata, and this center is called as cardiovascular center. So this cardiovascular center is a part of autonomic nervous system. So in this cardiovascular center, three distinct components are there. The three components of this cardiovascular center are: one, cardio accelerator center; second one is cardio inhibitor center; third one is vasomotor center. So here in this region, you can see here in this diagram, two black dot-like structures are: one is a cardiac accelerator center, another one is a cardio inhibitor center. So apart from these two centers, another center also will be there. That is not shown in this diagram, but third center also will be there. That is called as vasomotor center. So these three centers, they are helpful in controlling the heart rate. So now what these three centers they will do? First of all, let us see about cardio accelerator center. Cardio accelerator center, as the name suggests, it will accelerate the heart rate. That means it will increase the heart rate. So heart muscles will be stimulated to beat it fastly or contract very fastly, rapidly. So in this way, they will control the heart rates, and automatically stroke volume also will be regulated by these cardio accelerator center. So, and this cardiac accelerator center will work by the help of sympathetic nervous system. So in the sympathetic nervous system, here you can see this is sympathetic nerves. So these sympathetic nerves, they will carry the orders coming from the cardio accelerator center. When these orders in the form of action potential are transferred to the heart muscles, then automatically heart muscles will start beating fastly or contracting fastly. So in this way, cardiac accelerator center, when it is activated, nerve impulses will be sent through the sympathetic nerves to the heart muscles. Another center is cardio inhibitor center. As the name suggests, this cardio inhibitor center, it will decrease the heart rate, and stroke volume also will be decreased by this cardio inhibitor center. And this cardio inhibitor center, it will perform its duties with the help of parasympathetic nervous system. So in this parasympathetic nervous system, here in this diagram, you can see this red color one now. This is a vagus nerve. So through the vagus nerve, this cardio inhibitor center will send impulses or action potentials to the this what SCA node and AV node, heart muscles. So when SCA node and AV node are received signals from this vagus nerve or parasympathetic nerves, then heart rate will be decreased. So heart beating will be slow when they receive signals from vagus nerve. When this SCA node and AV node, when they receive signals from this sympathetic nerves, they contract fastly. That means the heart rate will be increased, and automatically stroke volume also will be increased. So whenever there is a necessity to increase the cardiac output, under such circumstances, cardio accelerator center will send impulses or orders through sympathetic nerves. Whenever there is a need to decrease the heart rate and cardiac outputs in turn, then the cardio inhibitor center will be activated. It will send signals through vagus nerve to this SCA node and AV node. And third center is vasomotor center. This vasomotor center, it will control the contractions, relaxations are constrictions and dilations of the blood vessels. So the blood vessel tone and contraction of the smooth muscles which are present in the tunica media of the blood vessels will be regulated by this vasomotor center. So in controlling the cardiac output in tissues in the body, in various organs, the blood vessels will be there periodically, or whenever there is a necessity is there, according to the need, the blood vessels will be dilated. The blood vessels, sometimes they will be constricted. So the constriction of blood vessels and dilation of the blood vessels will be regulated by the third center, vasomotor center. So these are the duties of these three centers which are present in cardiovascular center. So when this third center, this vasomotor center, when it will send impulses, in some cases the diameter will be increased, in some other cases the diameter will be decreased. So here in this diagram you can see the same blood vessel in different times it will change its diameter. So whenever a diameter is decreased, automatically the blood volume flowing through this blood vessel also will be decreased. That means cardiac output will be decreased. When the diameter of the blood vessel is increased, then what will happen? The blood volume flowing through the blood vessel also will be increased. That means cardiac output will be increased. So whenever a particular organ requires a lot of blood, when a lot of blood is required to be pumped to the particular organ, in that particular organ only blood vessels will be dilated, or when a particular organ is required to receive less amount of blood, and then what will happen? The blood vessels present in that particular organ will be constricted. So depending on the needs, the blood vessels in the organs will be dilated or constricted. So this will be done by this third center. So by the what is happening in all these things in all these three centers is that neurons are there in these three centers in the cardiovascular center. So these neurons, they will release neurotransmitters. So the neurotransmitters, norepinephrine will be released from the sympathetic neurons. So this norepinephrine will increase the heart rate, and these centers, all these centers, usually the function will be the same, but their construction anatomically they are distinct. They are not distinct. That means even though they appear in this same way, the structure will be same. The structurally they are different, but functionally all these things will be coordinated with one another. And cardiovascular center can respond to numerous stimuli, like some hormones will be stimulate this cardiovascular center, like epinephrine, norepinephrine, and changes in the pH also will be detected by the chemoreceptors. Chemoreceptors are present in some areas in our blood vascular system. So the chemoreceptors, apart from chemoreceptors, baroreceptors are also there. The baroreceptors, they will detect the stretch that happen inside the blood vessels. So when the blood vessels stretch, that will be received by this baroreceptor. So stretching in the blood vessels, or dilation or constriction in the blood vessels, and chemicals like change in the pH, epinephrine, norepinephrine, these hormones, they will be received by these chemoreceptors and baroreceptors. So the chemoreceptors, baroreceptors, they will receive these changes and they will send these impulses to the brain. When the brain receives these impulses through chemoreceptors and baroreceptors, it will take appropriate decision, and appropriately either the cardio accelerator center or cardio inhibitor center or vasomotor center will be activated, and they will stimulate the respective organs to do the function. So, and the regulation of heartbeat can be categorized into three classes or three categories. One is short-term neural control, and second one is short-term chemical control, and third one is renal control or renal regulation. So under short-term neural control, baroreceptors will take most part of the duty in this short-term neural control. And in short-term chemical control, chemical vasoconstriction and chemical vasodilation are the two different activities that are a part of chemical short-term chemical control. And in the long-term renal control, kidney will helpful in this long-term renal control. In this RAS system is there, renin, angiotensin, and aldosterone system. Renin, angiotensin, and aldosterone system. So in this, renin will be stimulated, renin will be released by the kidney, and with the help of another two, aldosterone and angiotensin, all these three things in long term, they will regulate the heart rate. Now let us see one by one all these three different controlling activities. First one is short-term neural control. So in the short-term neural regulation, blood pressure regulation will be achieved through the role of cardiovascular centers and with the help of baroreceptors. So the baroreceptors, they are a part of autonomic nervous system. They play a very critical role in the regulation of vascular homeostasis. So the primary regulatory sites include cardiovascular center in the brain. These cardiovascular centers, they will control both cardiac and vascular functions. So cardiovascular centers, they will have many neurons in the form of clusters. The cluster of neurons, they will change, they will respond to the different changes that happen in the blood pressure, in the blood concentration of oxygen or oxygen level, carbon dioxide levels, and pH changes. So all these things will be received by this cardiac vascular center, the neurons, cluster of neurons present in the cardiac vascular center. And in this short-term neural control, baroreceptors play a very important role. So the baroreceptors, they respond to the stretch that happen in the blood vessels, that happen in the heart muscles also. So the stretch will be caused due to the presence of blood. When a lot of blood is flown into the blood vessels, then automatically they will stretch a lot. So when they stretch a lot, baroreceptors, they will respond, they will generate impulses, nerve impulses, and these nerve impulses will be sent to the cardiovascular center. So when these baroreceptors are present in this dorsal aorta, see here, you can see this is dorsal aorta. So after coming from this left ventricle, it will bend backward and it will go downward, and this is the dorsal aorta. So in the dorsal aorta, we have aortic baroreceptors and the two small things you can see. So these are two chemoreceptors. So dorsal aorta is having one baroreceptor and two chemoreceptors are there. Apart from this baroreceptors in this dorsal aorta, another baroreceptors, another two baroreceptors are present in this carotid sinuses also. So the area where these carotid arteries arise, at the base of these carotid arteries, they will swell a little and they are called as cardiac sinuses, carotid sinuses. So in this carotid sinuses also, we have these baroreceptors along with chemoreceptors are there. So baroreceptors are there in this carotid sinuses and dorsal aorta. So apart from these two sides, a very low pressure baroreceptors are also present in the walls of vena cava in the right atrium. So three vena cava will be there. These three vena cava, they will open into the right atrium. They will pump blood into this right atrium coming from different regions of the body except lungs. So in this vena cava also, a low pressure baroreceptors are also there. So then what happens, how these baroreceptors, they will function, how they are helpful in controlling the heart rate, let us see. So when the blood pressure increases in these blood vessels, say for example, in this carotid sinus or in this dorsal aorta, when the blood pressure is increased in these things, automatically the blood vessels also will stretch a lot. This stretch stimulates these baroreceptors in these regions. So when they are stimulated a lot, they will fire a lot, they will generate high level action potentials at higher rates, and these higher rate action potential will be sent to this brain through this glossopharyngeal nerves and vagus nerve. So vagus nerve and glossopharyngeal nerve, they will send impulses to the brain, to the cardiac vascular center. The higher stretches or higher rate of action potential will be sent to this cardiovascular center. So in turn, the cardiovascular center in the brain will understand that now the blood pressure is increased in the blood vessels. Now it is time to decrease the blood pressure. So then accordingly, cardio inhibitor center will be activated and it will take necessary actions to decrease the blood pressure. And what happens at some places, let's say for example, in some cases blood pressure may be decreased. So pumped blood volume is very little into this dorsal aorta and in this carotid sinuses. Then what happens? These baroreceptors present in these two areas, this time also they will stretch, but the stretch will be very little when compared to the high level blood pressure time. So the rate of firing also will be slow. So the action potentials will be having a lesser concentrations or a lesser rates. So when the cardiovascular center receives these less impulses from these baroreceptors, then brain will understand that now blood pressure is decreased. Now it is time to increase the blood pressure. Then accordingly, cardio accelerator center will be activated, and this cardio accelerator center will stimulate the this what SA node and AV node to increase the contractions. In turn, blood pressure also will be increased, and heart rate also will be increased. So here in this slide, we can see how these baroreceptors are helping in controlling the heart rate. So when blood pressure is increased, what happens? Baroreceptors firing will be increased. And when baroreceptors are increased, then cardiac inhibitor center will be activated. Cardiac accelerator center will be decreased. It will be inhibited. Why? Because when cardio accelerator center is activated, blood pressure will be increased, heart rate will be increased. But what is the case now? Now blood pressure is increased. So now it is time to decrease the blood pressure. So that's why cardio inhibitor center needs to be activated. Remaining cardio accelerator center, vasomotor centers will be inhibited. So they will not do anything. They will stay calm in this case. Then automatically what happened due to the action of cardiac inhibitor center, cardiac output will be decreased, heart rate will be decreased and stroke volume will be decreased, so that cardiac output also will be decreased. And in this case, vasodilation will take place. Due to the vasodilation, what happens when the blood vessels are the diameter of blood vessels is increased, automatically blood pressure also will be decreased. So as a result of these two actions, blood pressure will drop and normal homeostasis will be restored. And let us see another case where blood pressure is decreased, then baroreceptor firing will be decreased. In this case, cardiac inhibitor center will be deactivated, cardiac accelerator center, vasomotor centers will be activated, and they will help in increasing the heart rate and the stroke volume. Automatically cardiac output will be increased. Vasoconstriction will take place in this case. Due to the vasoconstriction, blood pressure will be increased. To increase the blood pressure, cardiac output increase also will helpful. Finally, now earlier the blood pressure was decreased. Due to these changes, now blood pressure is increased. So homeostasis will be restored. So in this way, to restore the homeostasis, these baroreceptors are useful. So and baroreceptors reflexes will be there. So these reflexes, as we have seen in the earlier slide, the reflexes will help in restoring the homeostasis in the heart rate and homeostasis in the blood pressure in the blood vessels. So when the blood pressure rises too high, they will fire at higher rates. Parasympathetic nerves will be stimulated. As a result, cardiac output falls. Sympathetic stimulation of peripheral arterioles will also decrease. This results in the vasodilation. So due to these actions, blood pressure, what happens? It will fall and homeostasis will be increased. Homeostasis will be maintained. So when blood pressure drops in the blood vessels, baroreceptors firing decreases. So due to this, what happens? Sympathetic nervous system will be stimulated. This sympathetic nervous system, they will stimulate this SA node and AV node, and peripheral vessels also, blood vessels also will be stimulated to cause vasoconstriction in them. So with the help of these two combined actions, blood pressure will rise and homeostasis will be maintained. So and there is another reflex that is called as Bain-Briggs reflex. This is very important for short question. So what happens in this Bain-Briggs reflex? Let us see. So baroreceptors in the vena cava. So we have discussed already that in the vena cava, Also low pressure baroreceptors are there. So the low pressure baroreceptors present in this vena cava in the right and in the right atrium, they also will monitor blood pressure. So usually what happens, the blood flow in the dorsal aorta and blood flow in the right atrium will be same. So if blood is returning to the right atrium more rapidly than it is being ejected from the left ventricle, that means if the blood is coming rapidly into this right atrium, then the blood is going out of the left ventricle into the dorsal aorta. In such cases, what happens? The blood vessels, the dorsal aorta, the baroreceptors present in this vena cava and dorsal aorta, they will be stimulated, they will be activated, and they will fire these action potentials. In turn, cardiovascular center will be activated. Now it will increase the sympathetic nervous, it will stimulate the sympathetic nerves, and finally cardiac output will be increased. So whenever right atrium is receiving lot of blood, but left atrium is pumping less blood, then what happens? Through this baroreceptors present in this vena cava and right atrium, brain cardiac vascular center will be activated through this vagus nerve. It will through this sympathetic nervous system, it will increase the cardiac output. That means the blood pumping out of this left ventricle will be increased. So homeostasis will be achieved. So it will happen in opposite case also. That means when the right atrium is receiving less amount of blood, but left ventricle is pumping lot of blood out of the heart, that is also not good for the this vascular center to maintain the heart rate. So in such cases, what happens? Vagus nerves will be bringing these signals from this inhibitor center, cardiac inhibitor center, to decrease the cardiac output or to decrease the heart rate. So vice versa happens. This is called as Bain-Briggs reflex. So Bain-Briggs reflex is related to the maintaining the homeostasis in both these right atrium, receiving the amount of how much amount of blood is coming into the right atrium, it should be equal to the amount of blood going out of the left ventricle. So to maintain this homeostasis in between incoming and outgoing blood flows, this Bain-Briggs reflex will helpful in this regard. So, and apart from these three reflexes, other neural mechanisms also have a significant role in cardiovascular function. They include a limbic system. This limbic system links physiological responses to psychological stimuli, and chemoreceptor reflexes also will take place in this limbic system, and generalized sympathetic stimulation and parasympathetic stimulations also will take place in will take part in baroreceptor reflexes. And coming to second type of control of heart rate, that is short-term chemical control. So blood pressure can be controlled chemically by vasodilators and vasoconstrictors. Many physical factors that influence cardiac pressure, these physical factors, in turn, they may influence the physiological factors such as diet, exercise, diseases, drugs, or alcohol, stress, and obesity. So all these things, they will influence this arterial pressure. So autonomic nervous system responds to all these things, and it will regulate all these interacting factors. So these responses are very effective in changing the variables and resulting blood pressure from moment to moment. So vasoconstriction results from chemical vasoconstriction and chemical vasodilation are the two things that happen in this chemical control. First of all, let us see about this vasoconstriction. So vasoconstriction, it results from the contraction of the muscles present in these blood vessels. The contraction of these muscle vessels will happen with the increased calcium ions and phosphorylated myosin. So when myosin is phosphorylated and calcium ions concentration is increased in these muscles of these blood vessels, then vasoconstriction takes place. So the vasoconstriction increases systemic blood pressure. So when the diameter of the blood vessel is decreased, automatically blood pressure will be increased. So, but also in some cases, in some tissues, whenever some tissues required to reduce the blood flow, in some cases also vasoconstriction will take place. So when this chemical vasoconstriction thing is stimulated, a signal transduction cascade will lead to this increased intracellular calcium from this sarcoplasmic reticulum through this inositol triphosphate mediated calcium release. So inositol triphosphate mediates the release of calcium ions from the sarcoplasmic reticulum or endoplasmic reticulum present in this heart muscles are all and in other muscles are striated muscles also will have this sarcoplasmic reticulum. From the sarcoplasmic reticulum only calcium ions will be increased during the muscle contraction takes place. So this release of calcium ions will be stimulated by a signal transduction cascade. And when these calcium ions are released, the enhanced calcium ion entry into the sarcolemma, into this cytoplasm of the sarcoplasm of the muscle cells, what happens? It will stimulate the cardiac muscle contraction. So the rise in the intracellular calcium concentration interacts with calmodulin, one chemical present helpful in this muscle contraction. This calmodulin, it will activate myosin light chain kinase enzyme. So the myosin light chain kinase enzyme is responsible for phosphorylating the light chain of the myosin, and the phosphorylation of light chain of the myosin, it will stimulate the crossbridge cycling. So formation of cross bridges is very, very important in muscle contraction. So that will be initiated in this way. Once the calcium ion concentration is elevated, what happens? Once the muscle contraction is achieved, they will return to the basal level through a variety of protein pumps, and calcium ions again they will be sent into this sarcoplasmic reticulum. So in this way now cardiac muscles will relax. So the reduction in the calcium removes the stimulus necessary for contraction. Automatically they will come to baseline or relaxation of the muscles, heart muscle takes place. So the endogenous vasoconstrictors include ATP, epinephrine, and angiotensin 2. So these angiotensin 2 is helpful in vasoconstriction, and epinephrine hormone and ATP present in these muscles of the blood vessels, they will helpful in achieving this vasoconstriction. So all these three things are present inside the blood vessels of the muscle cells of the blood vessels. That's why they are called as endogenous vasoconstrictors. And another one is vasodilation, chemical vasodilation. So vasodilation results from the relaxation of smooth muscle cells within the blood vessel walls. So when especially large veins, large arteries, and small arterioles, when they relax, the smooth muscles of these three things, they relax, this vasodilation takes place. So the vasodilation results in the decrease in the systemic blood pressure. It will decrease the blood pressure, and also it will increase the blood flow to the tissues. So when the blood vessels are stretched a lot, or the diameter of them is increased, automatically a lot of blood will come to those organs. So automatically the organs will be receiving a lot of blood flow. So the primary function of this vasodilation is to increase the blood flow in the body to the tissues that need it most. So vasodilation will not occur in all the tissues at the same time. So whenever a tissue requires a lot of blood flow, in the tissue only this vasodilation takes place. So this vasodilation is often in response to the localized need for oxygen, but it can occur when the tissue in question is not receiving enough glucose, lipids, and other nutrients. So localized tissues increase blood flow by several methods, including the release of vasodilators. Primarily, the vasodilators include adenosine, and it will pump into this local interstitial fluid, which diffuses to capillary bloods, provoking the local vasodilation. So some physiologists have suggested that lack of oxygen itself causes capillary beds to vasodilate by the smooth muscles hypoxia of the blood vessels in that particular region. So as the vasoconstriction and vasodilation are modulated by calcium ion concentration and myosin phosphorylation within the vascular smooth muscle cells. Dephosphorylation of by myosin light chain phosphatase and induction of calcium symporters and antiporters that pump calcium ions out of the intracellular compartments. Both these two things, they will contribute to smooth muscle cell relaxation, and therefore vasodilation will be achieved. So this vasodilation is accomplished through reuptake of ions into the sarcoplasmic reticulum via ion exchanges and expulsion of these ions across the plasma membrane. So in this blood vessel, some endogenous vasodilators also will be there. They include arginine and lactic acid. They will act as endogenous vasodilators. So these endogenous vasodilators and endogenous vasoconstrictors, they need not to receive signals from the brain. Whenever a need is there, automatically in the local area only, these endogenous vasodilators and endogenous vasoconstrictors, they will initiate this vasodilation and vasoconstriction activities. Now coming to the third type of regulation, that is long-term regulation, it will be achieved by the kidneys. So it is called as long-term renal regulation. So it is very consistent. The previous two regulation methods are very short-term methods. So whenever a need is there, then only they will be initiated. And when the need is accomplished, then they will be stopped. But in long term, to increase the blood pressure, the kidneys play a very important role. So this third type of controlling method of heart rate is consistent, and it is long-term control. And it will be determined by the renin-angiotensin system, or renin-angiotensin and aldosterone system. So it is called as RAS system, or RAAS, RAS system. So in this renin, angiotensin and aldosterone are the three hormones. They will participate in controlling the blood pressure and water balance. So when the blood volume is low, juxtaglomerulary cells which are present in the kidneys, they will secrete a hormone called as renin. So this renin will be directly secreted into the blood circulation, and this renin will go to all the tissues present in the body through the blood circulation. So here in this slide, we can see that, so kidneys, they will release renin whenever they decrease in the renal propulsion or blood pressure is decreased, renin will be secreted. Renin will enter into this blood pressure, blood flow, and it will be sent into the systemic circulation. So then what happens? Liver will secrete one proenzyme called as angiotensinogen. So this angiotensinogen will be converted into angiotensin 1 with the help of this renin enzyme. And this angiotensin 1 will be converted into angiotensin 2 within the lungs. So in the lungs, the alveolar cells, they will have ACE receptors. These ACE receptors, they will convert angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. Here it is time to note one thing, that these ACE receptors are very important to enter in entry of this coronavirus, COVID virus into our body. So these ACE receptors, actually, they are helpful in converting angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. So now this angiotensin 2, it will act as a blood pressure, to increase the blood pressure, they will be helpful. So they will increase the sympathetic nervous system activity, and they will also helpful in tubular sodium chloride ion concentration. Reabsorption of sodium will be achieved by this angiotensin 2. Chloride and water will be sent out of the blood pressure. So, and they also come and work on the adrenal cortex, cortex of the adrenal gland. As a result, angiotensin 2 will stimulate the adrenal gland to secrete aldosterone hormone. This aldosterone hormone also is helpful in removing the water from the blood vessels and chloride ions and sodium ions and reuptake of potassium ions. And angiotensin 2 also works on arteriolar vasoconstriction to increase the blood pressure, and it also acts on pituitary gland to increase the secretion of aldosterone hormone. So this ADH or antidiuretic hormone or aldosterone hormone also will be secreted in response to angiotensin 2. So this aldosterone hormone also, it will it will send the water out of the body to increase the blood pressure. So in this way, water and salt retention will take place, and effective circulating volume also will be increased, and perfusion from the blood vessels of the juxtaglomerular apparatus also will be increased. So plasma renin, the renin will be sent into the plasma. Plasma will carry this renin into the systemic circulation. Angiotensinogen 1 will be converted into angiotensin 1. This angiotensinogen will be secreted by the release by the liver. Now the angiotensin 1 later it will be converted into angiotensin 2. Usually it will be done in the lungs with the help of angiotensin converting enzyme. This is called ACE receptor. ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme. So now angiotensin 2, it is a potent vasoactive peptide. This will cause blood vessels to constrict, resulting in the increase of blood pressure. And angiotensin 2 also stimulates the secretion of the hormone called aldosterone from the adrenal cortex. This aldosterone causes the tubules of the kidneys to increase the reabsorption of sodium and water into the blood. This also increases the volume of fluid in the body to increase the blood pressure. If the renin, angiotensin, and aldosterone system is too active, blood pressure will be too high. Many drugs to interrupt these different steps in this system will be given to decrease the blood pressure in some cases, in some patients. So in some patients, when this RAS system is active, then their blood pressure will be increase. So to decrease the blood pressure, some drugs will be given to them. So these drugs are one of the main ways to control the high blood pressure, heart failure and kidney failure and harmful effects of the diabetes. So now it is believed that angiotensin 1 may have some minor activity, but angiotensin 2 is the major bioactive product. The angiotensin 2 has a variety of effects on the body, throughout the body, and it is a potent vasoconstrictor of the arterioles. So with this, this topic is over. Let us meet with another topic in next.